It is 3:35 p.m. This is Tuesday, June 11th, 2024. This is the Bluff Town Council regular meeting. Roll call.
Linda Sosa,
Britt, Hornsby.
Luanne Hook.
Jennifer Davila,
Ann Leppanen.
Erin Nelson, serving as town manager.
So the first thing would have been, had I not been doing too many agendas, would have been approval of minutes. Those will be on the next week's because I left them off by mistake. So we'll go directly to public comment. There will be a 3-minute time limit for any person wishing to make a public comment. If you exceed the 3-minute time limit without permission, the meeting controller will mute you. We'll give you a minute to raise your hand if you're online, as we were a little slow starting, plus we're starting half an hour earlier than normal, as we noted in the Utah Public Notice website. We don't have any audience physically, so let's just give it a minute.
While we're waiting, I did get a written public comment today, so I'll just pass this out. And for our written public comments, they go on the website too, but these were not emailed, they were just handed to me.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So there you go. But yeah, I didn't already give you your copy, right?
No, yeah, perfect, thank you. Then I'll have Erin check and see if anyone's raised their hand to make a public comment.
Not seeing anyone, and I did open the chat box about 30 seconds ago, and I'm not seeing anyone with their name on there either.
Well, let's wait like 1 minute
Sure.
and then close it.
There aren't any floating agenda printed off in here anywhere. Well, no, it's okay. Don't run back. I've got it on my screen. I just thought if there was one sitting here, I'd mark it up.
I don't print mine either today, it's still a lot of writing.
But I'm going for years, but otherwise, I can do with this.
Any hands raised?
I don't see anything.
All right, then we will go to the first item, which is Jocelyn Meyer's report on the playground committee status and requests. This fits in pretty comfortably with the budget that we'll be approving, but today Jocelyn Meyer came to the design review committee meeting, which unfortunately Utah P.O did not attend. So we sat and talked with Jocelyn informally about the playground, because the situation is for the playground committee to move forward, they need to have a location to put into grants. And so obviously the two locations that would be most suitable seem to be the Bluff Community Center, where we already have a playground, and then the Cooperative Cultural Center, where there was a playground. And so we were hoping at the design review committee to be able to talk about it, to see if UDB had any objection to designating space on the CCC, on the Cooperative Cultural Center grounds. So the playground committee, through Jocelyn, said that we don't need to have an exact location or an exact size, but they need something in the grant to say there's approval to put it on the Bluff Community Center grounds or the Cooperative Cultural Center. So kind of backing up, we asked Janet Sloman, and she was asking Davis Filfret that they could meet at 2 this, and she said she could meet. Hopefully we can run this by them to see if they can take it to their board. But for the purposes of putting something into the budget that we're going to be hopefully approving for 2025, it was helpful to hear Jocelyn's explanation of what they were asking. So, Jen, do you want to just kind of describe what the ask was, as opposed to what I was thinking they probably were going to come in with? No.
Yeah, Jocelyn's on too. But I thought that the ask was just like you had just stated, that we need to kind of get a location nailed down first and then start to go after grant things. We do have a quote out there that's a couple of years old now. So, you know, and she was kind of basing things off of that. But she felt that if we could commit to a 10% match financially for budget purposes, then that would probably be a good starting spot.
There were the bids that those ones that were sitting around. Sorry, my voice is going. PDF that was sitting around. Is that?
That's the quote that we had gotten a couple of years ago. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know how relevant that is even still, because prices fluctuate and change.
So we're just- okay.
But the main point was just trying to get a commitment for a place and then start to build on it from there.
Jocelyn, is there anything that you want to speak to? I know that you possibly have kid care going on, but we're certainly willing to listen if you're on and you want to speak.
Oh, no, you all covered it. Thank you so much. I do have a little one waking up from a nap right now. So really, it was just thanking you all for your time and your effort and your energy and just renewing the conversation of a new playground in Bluff, where that could potentially go. I think the discussion today was the benefits of one potentially at the CCC and just getting the design review committee to say, yes, this is something that can go here. And then we can begin to say, okay, what size, what structures, can we build on the quote that we have and revamp things? But we can't do that until we say, yes, we can put a playground back at the CCC. And then the playground committee is really willing to do a lot of the groundwork to make that happen.
Well, so my thinking is to put this on the next Tuesday town council meeting for a vote on the location. I thought, initially when we talked about this recently, I was kind of on the fence about where, and certainly on the fence about how much money, but I think getting it into the capital improvement plan, knowing that we could most likely commit to a 10% match depending on what it looked like, and that we're probably looking at several years out. I would really, my personal feeling would be that it be at the CCC, because assuming we're going to get everything moving and that building is usable and we're moving out of here, I would hate to have a grant scored, put a playground in here, and then all of us relocate all of our activities over to the Cooperative Cultural Center. And we talked today about the safety issues. You'd be able, if you put it in the same or similar spot, you could fence it off and have an outside entrance into it so that it wouldn't be impacted by construction or risk to the kids. But we can vote on it. Does anybody else have a thought or a different? There's always Barwell. I was looking for a reason to use Barwell.
I guess as I've thought about it, I've been getting more comfortable with being over here, but only because of it being part of like a rental kind of complex. You know what I mean? Of like, oh, you got a birthday party, you got the pavilion and the playground. And I don't know. I guess that's just me not envisioning us moving out.
Well, we did talk about, continuing to do some improvement and stuff on the equipment that we have over here to make sure that it's safe and can be utilized still. I don't think there was any discussion about tearing this one out at all.
Oh, no, not saying tear it out.
Yeah,
Just saying, just making it nicer for the events
Yeah.
that we do have over here. Fine with either one, all works.
Well, part of my thinking was really that long-term 2 to 3 year picture of if we put it here and we relocate, then what, even though we may be using this for rentals, I'm not, I'm on the, I could go either way, but right now, today I'm thinking it might be best to give them the location at the CCC. And then reality is that if they get a grant and something is changing, we could say, wait, you're putting in a grant, it's changed, there's no way it's going to work here. But everybody should think about it so that we can vote on a location for them if we want
And we
to
could
get this
approve
moving.
both, right? Like, you know, we're comfortable with it being here. If for whatever reason it doesn't work out over there, they can still, you know, start applying for grants and it's already cleared. Does that work?
Well, I think it's just such a moving target that if we vote to do something here or there, and and the committee is able to start writing grants that are viable, and it looks like, well, this spot isn't going to work, they could write into we could revote and write in. I mean, we can change it until they've put in a definitive grant. I think we could always move it.
Another plus that Jocelyn brought up, and Erin as well, for the location at the CCC is the visibility from the highway. And it's easy for people driving through to say, oh, look, there's a park where up here, can't really see the park from the road.
I guess I'd like to see it'd be cool if it was like a phase 3. You know what I mean? Like I saw that back in like a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3.
Yeah.
Get this one.
Yeah, well, and
Just
maybe
to,
that's a future possibility.
And it's just mostly because it's a weird spot where you're more glass half full with the CCC than I am, or whatever your reason it is. But it's just because I always just have a vision of like, oh, we're out here using it, and it's such a black hole of chaos, that like just something that I just don't want it to get forgotten in this, I guess. So.
No, and it is kind of a shot in the dark about where we approve it because we don't know where we'll be in 2 to 3 years.
And I guess that's what I wonder is kind of dovetailing on that is if they write the grants that there are these phases that we want, that's the core over there, but we need some repairs over here, need some upgrades over here. It could be that we could approve them working on both locations and it wouldn't really mess up their grant. They could write it knowing that we have needs both places.
And what she's saying, it'd be easy to do on the fly too, right? So to get approvals or change an approval or whatever. So.
But if they had it in their little synopsis of their grant, knowing that there's not like 3 other parks already in town saying this little park right here is what we have, this is what needs upgraded, and then a new one over there, it could maybe be a good way to write the grant.
Yeah, I'm for it. Thanks, Jocelyn.
Yeah, I think the vote piece of it will be what can we vote on today to approve for next week. And I'll just tell you what my thinking is on the UDB piece. If we don't meet on Thursday, we still have the meeting on Tuesday. And if Utah Dene Bakea doesn't participate on Tuesday, between Thursday and Tuesday, I will let Utah Dene Bakea know that we will move forward with our piece of it so that we're not holding this up. The playground committee would like to start working on grants. And so I'll just let them know. All right, if there's nothing else, let's move to a discussion and vote on the certified tax rate. Erin, do you want to go ahead and cover these?
Sure. So as discussed in council, we don't want to increase taxes. So the certified tax rate, the calculation through the Utah State Tax Commission, where essentially we say, this is our resulting revenues. And so they kind of back out the tax rate. And so I don't know how to best explain this, but essentially we say, we don't want to raise taxes. We're looking for this much in revenue based on property values and all the good stuff. They do all their equations and say, okay, well, then this is the tax rate that is going to be assessed to residents in your town. So that tax rate, you received a form, it's form PT 800. That is, and again, like all of this is online, but for us, we're just funding our general fund. And so the resulting revenue is $33,000 and the tax rate is 0.000649. And you, as part of our annual process, need to vote to accept it and to approve this resolution. And I know our resolutions usually look a little bit different, but for tax rate, the document we received is the resolution that you must formally vote on. Are there any questions about that process?
I motion to adopt resolution for certified tax rate as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? Then all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. So I'm going to sign that. Then this goes to the county. It also goes to, I believe, to the auditor. And then we're in our new tax rate. So
Thank you all for paying your property taxes.
then the next is a discussion and vote on salary raise for the Bluff Town Manager. Erin, do you want to be in or out of this discussion?
Oh, I can text it. That works. I'm going to speak to the meeting first. Okay. Holler when you're done.
So as you might all remember, we talked about an increase in salary for Erin, our town manager, who is currently paid $60,000, and we talked about going to $70,000. And while we do have a pretty tight budget this next fiscal year, I still would recommend that we approve an increase in her salary.
I motion to, what would I say, I guess, motion to increase the salary or salary raise for Bluff Town Manager.
To a specific amount.
To 70,000.
A second.
Any further discussion?
Do we need to say something about when it's effective?
Probably a good idea. Do you want to amend the motion?
Do you want it? So do we make it effective July 1st? Is that, okay. So Britt, do you want to amend it?
Okay, so, sorry. All right, so motion to increase salary raise for Bluff Town Manager to 70,000 effective July 1st.
I'll second the amended motion.
Yeah, I was just making an assumption it was July 1st, but that's a good
Yeah,
idea to
that's good.
probably have it in the motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. Erin?
Don't tell her. Make her after.
She might just walk out the door today. Never mind, y'all, find a different.
We actually decreased it, so.
Okay, well, you know, budgets are tight.
No, so in the next item would be the discussion and vote on the amended fiscal year 2024 budget. Erin, do you want to cover that?
Yeah, I don't know if it's helpful to share my screen, if you guys want to, let me just pull it up real fast so we all have eyes on the same thing. Whew, and of course, as an ever-changing target, I did hear back from the accountant today, a few minutes ago. So I will walk you through one of his recommendations. We can talk about if that would be beneficial or not. I'll make this as big as I can. Okay, so I'll just start with, I took the liberty, I made one little tweak from what we talked about last week. I added in the sign permits because we actually received some for this fiscal year, and then you'll see them on next fiscal years too. It's very nominal, $150 potentially. I see that someone has their hand raised, but we're not taking public comment at this time. So I'm just gonna go ahead and move that there. So very nominal change, $150 there. When I sent this over to Dave Sanderson, our accountant, to take a look at, he had a couple recommendations. One of which was that there be, the way that I was reading it, is that he would recommend to have a little bit more of a buffer in both places. So this fund balance appropriated, so as a reminder, that's the money coming over from surpluses from prior years to cover. We run a very tight budget, and everyone does budgeting a little bit differently. Dave tends to do like big, nice round numbers, $50,000 here, $100,000 here, nice big round numbers. Since we're small, we can really tighten in to, we know what costs are coming down the line. However, I do see there be a small benefit to increasing this potential fund balance just for the budget. Not saying that we're going to use it, but if we got some weird, strange expense over the course of the next 3 weeks, we wouldn't have to go and amend our budget again. And so we're not projecting that, but who knows, the sky could fall. And so his recommendation is essentially to add a little padding. Now, what that will do is you'll have padding there, and then you'll see it come back out in the budget at least, under the general fund balance as an expense, which right now we don't have any because we're just pulling, $2,500 from last year. It's an even balanced budget, everything's good. But this proposed change that I will make to you in just a second would say, hey, we have extra money coming in the budget right now. It's just an expense coming out as a surplus, money out. And then if we had to use it, we could pull from it. He recommended, so what we originally had in the budget was like $115,000, which I find to be a lot. It does help us with the fund balance not exceeding 100%, which could be a benefit as well.
Okay.
I think you could get, we're also going to get around that by, not get around it, we're going to address that by putting money into capital projects. So I know we've talked a lot of budgeting over the last 2 months, but a big one is, we're not supposed to just like stockpile money. We're supposed to use it and put it to good use. And that's why capital improvements are so great, because you've got a plan for it, but you've got those costs to pull from. So 2 ways we can address this of having some of these surpluses from prior years. We can go ahead and put it in the budget and say, $50,000, $100,000 is just money in, money out to address any weird stuff over the next 3 weeks. And or, hey, we know that we're going to be using this money for some other big projects, and therefore we're not carrying that fund balance. It's set aside in capital projects, which we're not approving today, but potentially could approve sometime in the next few weeks. So I think my recommendation, after talking through this with you all, my recommendation would be go ahead and increase what I sent you, increase the revenue fund balance appropriation to $75,000. We'll just go ahead and just $75,000. We have that money available, and then you will see that on just coming out as a surplus. $73,000 coming out as a surplus at the bottom. And then we can talk capital projects separately. Does anyone have any questions about that? And again, it's a nice kind of round, even number. But again, it's going to even out. You're going to have your balanced budget. It'll address some of his concerns. It would address if we saw anything crazy. And then, and just again, when you take it with a grain of salt, everyone does budgeting a little bit differently. We're very tight on our numbers. I don't expect it to exceed what you're seeing right here. But I know there are some best practices that probably Dave has seen from other municipalities that we can.
Well, I would certainly hate to get to the end of the fiscal year and have to amend again. So I would be able to live with Dave Sanderson's and Erin's recommendations that we move that around a little bit and give a little more padding. Other people, what are you thinking?
Does it show up already in the one that you put out as coming back out?
It does not.
Okay, so where does it come back out of? Which?
So I will show you. So where it's going to come in from, it's going to be line 3990, fund balance appropriated. And so then that number is just going to be, I'll just increase it to $75,000.
Even.
75 even. And then on the way back out, it will look like
if we use none of that and we transfer it all, where does that
so
transfer?
then it's going to come out of, coming out, and again, we did actually need just a small $2,500. it will come out under the very last line, which currently is 0. For roads, there's money, because again, not a whole lot of money spent, so roads here. It'll just come out general fund here, and you will see it total $72,409, which would increase the total overall balanced budget to $692,579. So that's, you're going to be your revenues and your expenditures equal.
And it won't, so, yeah, I trust where you put it in and out, but it will come out on this then too.
Yes.
It'll go in and it'll show that it's coming
It'll
out unless
show
we spend it.
technically as a surplus.
Okay.
It's just that surplus that moves over year to year.
Okay.
It'll come in, it'll go out. And again, just as a reminder, everyone, it's not the physical money moving. We don't move anything out of our bank accounts. Nothing moves to any of our accounts. It's just purely in the accounting system, trying to track it.
Sounds fine to me. I appreciate you talking to him
It's a little last
and
minute.
understanding it.
Yeah, a little last minute, but that's okay. And I do understand his principles. So yeah, and just, as we continue to work with him, yeah, I mean, it's great to look at what other municipalities do. I'm sure there's some good best practices. Okay.
Any motions?
I'm so sorry, real fast. Can I include in this also, so you should have received, you saw the 2024, you got 2025, and then you had the special CCC special revenue fund. I would request, there have been no changes to that. I would request that also be included in this 2024 approval of budget. So it'd be the general fund and the special revenue fund, if you wouldn't mind.
I can make a motion to adopt the general fund and the special revenue fund budget for 2024 as we amended it.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye.
All right.
Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. Then we move to the discussion and vote on the fiscal year 2025 budget.
Great. Let me pull that one up for us. All right. Sorry, let me go let someone tell me really fast. Okay.
Can that one go a little bigger?
Yes. Okay, so. I don't think I had too many changes here. I could see an amended budget, or we could do it now, that we could do this exact same thing of have like a little extra padding in the budget. I fully imagine that we will be amending this budget at some point, probably sooner rather than later next year, given that there's a lot going on. As of right now, we are, I'm so sorry. As of right now, we're saying that we are in what would be a deficit of $38,000. It's just essentially saying we're pulling $38,000 from prior years to cover what we perceive to be our expenses for next year. Again, the big one would be the non-recurring costs for legal fees. So, besides that, the only thing I added was a whopping $200 for potential sign permit fees. But I don't think there have been any other big changes. And that gives us just, I think I lied to you last time. I think I said we wouldn't exceed $600,000. We're at $601,000 for our expected expenditures for next year. Thoughts, comments, questions, concerns? Do you want to add padding now? Do you want to wait until the amend?
I would like to add it now to keep it consistent with 24. Because if we're going to do it in 24, we need to have a reason why we wouldn't do it in 25, in my mind. If somebody else comes and looks at this, I think we should be a reason.
The only
To
thing
take it
I
out.
would say is that we are already pulling from the prior year. Legally, it would be beneficial, if if we thought we were spending $600,000 in our general fund, before midway next year, for example, we'd have to amend the budget before we could spend more than that.
But if the 75 is in 24s, won't that pull over to
Well,
25?
one of the things that made a really big difference, Luanne, is that we didn't anticipate the amount of attorney's fees. That's why we're having to pull money over. We've accounted for it in the 2025 budget by really ramping those up. I can live with it either way.
And you're right, we could just move that perceived end of, the $73,000 that would be our perceived pushing, just to put that straight into next year.
It would just roll over, I think.
Maybe to make that very straightforward and we can connect to everything, maybe we increase the 38,000 that I've got highlighted on screen to that amount from last year, and it can just
To
go
73,
73
75.
with change, whatever. So that works,
That's-
and that's an easy way to kind of track it too. So I'm good with that.
Yeah, that's fine with me. I just don't want anybody looking at the budget and in their brain thinking we should spend it.
Yeah.
It would be nice to go into 2025 and be a little closer to estimating accurately.
And these numbers are just a drop in the bucket compared to what we perceive we could spend for the special revenue account, which I want to remind you again, if you could include in the Russian, because that one is quite, no changes there, exact same budget, have the potential to spend, well over $1 million for that special revenue fund. And again, I do see us needing to amend these. I think it's rare that we don't, but just a reminder there as well. But no changes on that one from what I presented from very early on.
Any further thoughts, questions?
So this is probably something I can ask you later, but so you're adding, okay, so I've just received all the checks for the signs. Do I deposit them in June?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Totally. Right. We're set on those. And then just to tie this up in a nice fancy bow, so we'll increase this amount for what's coming in to that 73 and change. I don't think I still on my calculator, sorry. But whatever is coming in from 2024, and then you will see the difference as a surplus or general fund balance at the end of the year. So this total dollar amount will go up. So basic napkin math would say that this total budget for the year is going to increase by approximately $30,000.
Any other questions, thoughts? Any motions?
I'll make a motion to adopt the 2025 budget as amended for the general fund and the 2025 special revenue fund, pulling over the leftover, the padding from the 24 budget into the 25 budget, making that change.
Second.
Any further discussion? Then all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. I should point out that you received in your packet the resolutions that go with this. So I'm just recording the vote on resolutions, and I'll give those to Linda today so that I don't lose them. Then next is the discussion on the public hearing on proposed county zoning ordinances in the map on June 27th, 2024 up in Monticello. So the reason that that's on here is that it couldn't wait until next week to really be talking about it. Let me get to that notice from, so Melissa Rigg, who is our representative on San Juan County Planning and Zoning, sent out an email to us telling us about the date and time for the public hearing in Monticello, where the commission will then following that, on its July 2nd meeting, entertain a vote to approve the proposed ordinances and maps. And planning and zoning is still working, San Juan County Planning and Zoning is still working on the ordinances for cell towers, short-term rentals, glamping, primitive camping, and RV parks. And she'll let us know when they're available for viewing. I will be out of the state. I think it is amazingly important for 1, 2, 3, 4. Some of us, I'm going to share this with planning and zoning, need to go there. And here's the reason why. We have 9,500 acres at risk for disconnect. If the county, we sit silently, we say nothing. We don't offer an opinion. As a council, we don't offer an opinion. As individuals about what's being proposed for unincorporated areas. That 9,500 on a disconnect will become unincorporated. And then we're back to that question of not having a seat at the table for what the entry into Bluff looks like. Initially, it looked like the public hearing was going to be held while I was here, so I wasn't as concerned about pushing this, but I can't be there. It will probably be, I'm assuming it's going to be virtual, but given the time zone changes I'm in, I'm not sure I'll make it. So I think it's really important. I'm going to put it on our agenda for next week to talk about whether we want to do some written comment to go with it, whether people want to go up and make oral comment. But since this is a fairly wide range of what could be potential use of that land up there. And if the consensus is it's not a problem, then I'll just do my own public opinion. But if there's a consensus, I'd like the council to write a letter with a public comment. I haven't had time to go in and look at the website. It's kind of waiting until Melissa said that all of it was up there rather than piecemealing it.
I don't have anything in my mail from her.
I didn't either.
So if you still have it in your
Yep, I
at
do.
hand, you could maybe forward it to us.
Yep.
Thank you.
Oh, I see where it went. She sent it out to the whole community.
Yeah, I thought I remembered.
Yeah, she sent it out in the community.
I was just trying to pull it up here and I was like, I can't. Yeah.
Yeah, she sent it out to the through Lois Young. But yeah, it'll be in the email will be in your packet with the link. But
Well, I'm out of town, but I'm down to go virtually.
well, I thought I'd try to connect with Melissa this week and see if there's been any updates or what. But she's really thorough about letting us know what's going on. So I'm sure if they've got any more draft ones up there, she'll let us know. Anything further on that? And I'll make sure that her email goes out in the packet. Then we're at other. Is there any other?
We had a great trash pickup yesterday with the Fort. Thank you to the Fort for all their work, and to the locals who joined with all of us.
Yeah, we got the cloudy weather, which was great. And
Ann manifested it. It was amazing.
I was right. I think we had about 25 people.
I think 25 is about right. I'll send out a photo. Everyone in their little vests. So
If you would, and
great.
if you'd send it to the Fort too. I thought for some reason I had one and I didn't, so.
No, it was really nice to have them, and they had volunteers from Craig and Lori were there, who were our community liaisons last year, and they're in town for a couple of weeks. So amazing to see them with their continued support of the town. It's very appreciated.
Well, we talked a little bit about the pancake breakfast and fundraiser, and they're fully on board to do that again. So I said we'd kind of touch base in August about what we need, and suggested that probably people who own restaurants might be willing again to place an order through Cisco for things we need, not pay for it, but place it so that If there's no other, then it's 4:15 PM. And any motions?
Motion to adjourn.
Second motion.
And I might just say, this is the end of our regular meeting that was an extra scheduled meeting, and we're moving into our regular scheduled work
No,
session.
we're going to take a break. We're going to take a 5-minute break because I've got to shift off the recorder.
Okay.
So I still have to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, I'm turning the recorder off and jumping off this meeting. Well, I'm just going to pause this meeting.
Yeah, because we can.
Yeah, people can stay on, but
Do you want Craig to do a separate recording for the work session, or is it?
no, he can
all
just
one?
combine it since we've got it on the recorder to break it up. I'm just going to step away for a second.
Thank you.